Hello and welcome back to another experiment on the channel for FM19, and today is Pundit Premier League. So what I've done for this one is I've basically taken all the Premier League clubs, removed their managers, and I've created 20 pundits who exist on Sky Sports, Match of the Day, BT Sport, etc. Mostly ex-footballers. I think increasingly, in fact 100% pretty much all ex-footballers, ex-professionals, and created their profile in the game and put them in charge of teams that are generally relevant to them. So these are people, they talk the talk regularly, but can they walk the walk? They're always on there, slating teams, pulling teams apart, this sort of stuff. Can they do it themselves? So what I'm doing, I'm showing on the screen now exactly who I've put where. I'll go through it in the clubs individually shortly, but there were some I did have to miss out. We had obviously 20 teams to pick from. There was more than 20 pundits, and also there was like maybe some clubs that had like 3 or 4. I could only pick one, so I just went with the most popular generally and tried to filter some of the others out to other clubs maybe that had less options. I did also have to put Michael Owen at Cardiff, as I couldn't think of any ex-players who for Cardiff who were pundits. Let me know in the description down below if there's anyone I've missed you can think of. And it was the same for Jermaine Genius at Watford. There was no one for them I could think of that sort of fit the bill, so him and Michael Owen were the two probably off the list I had left over that were the more popular / more relevant, more current ones. You can probably hear in my voice I am coming down with a cold and sore throat again. It's about the third one in about 2 months. It's ridiculous. I had one for about 2-3 years and just can't keep getting them back. Partly to do with the daughter's had a bit of a cold, and also a commute to work where people just don't seem to know how to cover their mouth when they cough and sneeze. So it's probably going to keep coming on for the whole of winter, but hopefully I can get rid of it pretty quick. Back to the save at hand. So all these managers, all these pundits, I've contracted them to 2022. So we're just going to see who's going to win the league. Does it change the layout of the lay of the land? Is it the players that win the league, or is it the manager? Man City still going to storm it. Is it going to be the usual top 4, or is there going to be a surprise package in there? Can someone do it? Who's going to win the other competitions? Same sort of basis really. Is it going to be more of a surprise package? Maybe a lower league team can win the FA Cup or something like that. And also, who's going to retain their jobs? Who's going to stay to the end of the season? Is anyone going to manage it? Have simmed one season, so that's probably all we're going to do. There is scope to maybe go another season or 2, but obviously I'm sure some of them will start losing their jobs at some point, so it may not work out quite right. But we'll go to the Premier League now, and we'll just have a quick scroll through the teams. We'll have a look and see if it changes the preview. I don't think so. So Cardiff is still expected to be bottom, Man City top, and the usual kind of top 6. I think that's pretty much how it would start out in a normal game. You can see obviously a couple across the top. I've shown you who's going where already, but we'll have a look at their profiles. I did kind of try to add in as many attributes as I thought were relevant. The rest of them I left kind of random to the game to decide. So not strictly complete accurate stats on the managers, but I mean it's hard to do that when they're not actually managers themselves. You don't really know what sort of manager they'd be when they haven't really done it. At Arsenal, so it's Paul Merson. He could have gone to Chelsea. I think that's probably about it. Middlesbrough aren't up in the Premier League anymore. Portsmouth aren't up there anymore. But yeah, so he's 50. So all the ages, birthdays, that sort of stuff, all the caps, that's generally correct. The reputation's probably not too sure, but he's got quite good attributes here. He's more of an attacking manager, quite good at man management, motivating. Some of these obviously are random, so I didn't create them all. I did do the attacking. I can't remember what I did for who. It took me a good day or so at work to put this together, maybe a day or 2 actually. I was doing it quite sporadically. But that's Paul Merson. So Bournemouth, we've gone for Jamie Redknapp, son of old Harry, terrific. 17 caps for England, 1 goal, 45 years old. Again, not amazing, but quite well rounded. See what I'll do. I'm not going to go too much in detail. I'll just do a slight overview. You can pause it if you want to have a look at them more directly. So that's Bournemouth. And then at Brighton, we went for Robbie Savage. Struggled with Brighton, and I struggled a bit with Robbie Savage. There's quite a few clubs he could have gone to, and they conflicted with quite a few others, like Leicester springs to mind top of my head. Obviously Man United years and years ago, but that doesn't really count. But he had a loan spell at Brighton right at the end of his career, played about 6 games, so he slotted right in. yeah, fairly well-rounded. Don't really know too much here. I didn't add too many 10s to or 10s not to, anything like that, or too many things. It was literally just the coaching attributes. So I added some bits in. We went with man management 10 here. What else did I got? I remember something with him. Discipline being quite low, determination quite high. There were some hidden ones obviously as well, I think. So there was level discipline. There was something. There was a few others that it was just like temperament, things like that, quite low for Robbie Savage, for Mr. Savage. On to Burnley, and we go to Lee Dixon. I think he started his career there, possibly Stoke, but it was possibly Stoke, and then I think it was possibly Burnley, and then on to Arsenal, where he went on to great things. Defending 20, I mean, you'd expect him to be a fairly defensive manager. He's on lowest salary, I think, so far, 33, seen a lot of 110s, but that's obviously reflected in the club he's in charge of. Tactical, quite good, working with youngsters, yeah, I mean, that's random, I think. Motivating 10. I mean, he was a good player for Arsenal, and as a pundit, I'm not sure he would motivate you too much. He backs down to Roy Keane quite a bit, it seems to be. So yeah, I'm not sure he'd get the dressing room rocking, but I mean, as a player in the dressing room, who knows, it could be a completely different animal to what you see on TV. Cardiff, obviously we mentioned we went with Michael Owen. He's actually a lower salary now, 38 years old, probably one of the youngest here, I think, in fact. Possibly Jermaine Genius actually would fall in that bracket, actually. I think he's about 35, 36. It seems like Michael Owen's older than 38. He seems like he's been around forever. I mean, he broke through in 98, so that's, like 20 years ago. That's absolutely crazy. Not the best pundit, says a lot of garbage. He's memed a lot of what he says, so it'd be interesting to see what he does with Cardiff. Can he get them off of that projected 20th? Can he do better than that? Can he get them out the relegation zones and secure their Premier League position? Who knows? Chelsea, we had a few options here. Gianfranco Zola's one of them, but I didn't go with him because he's a real manager. In fact, he's not really a pundit, he's more of an ex-player, isn't he? I think there was a few others, but Andy Townsend was the one. He was there as a young player when Chelsea weren't the team they are now, before the money ended up there. And when I was doing this, I didn't realise he made 70 caps for Ireland. I mean, I was watching that Ireland team through the 90s, and he obviously started probably before I started watching it and taking notice of international football, stuff like that. But I didn't realise he made 70 caps. I mean, for a player in that generation to make 70 caps was not unheard of, but quite rare. But I suppose if he played every game, he would have got quite close. And Ireland were quite successful back then, getting to Euros and World Cups and stuff. I think 90 to 94, 3 on the bounce, that would have been quite good runs in them as well. So with him, we've given him quite good tactical for his tactics truck. That's Andy Townsend. Crystal Palace, and we went for my man, Ian Wright. What a legend. Arsenal legend through and through. And if Thierry Henry had never joined that club, his record would still be standing, generations, probably never be beaten. But Thierry Henry was just a different animal altogether, and that I don't think that'll ever be beaten. But Righty, what can you say about the man? But we've got him as attacking coach, motivated man management. I think he'd get the dressing room rocking. He's a madman. I think you'd listen to him. I think he did he have a stint as a manager? I want to say possibly lower league club. I'm not too sure. I don't really remember, but yeah, Righty, absolute legend. And Crystal Palace, he slots in and see what he can do there. For Everton, we went for Martin Keown. Obviously, could have been Arsenal as well. Regular on Match of the Day now. He didn't put him on defending higher for some reason. I don't know why. Driven personality, I'd say that. I think we put him on discipline quite low. Purely, I think that Nistelrooy altercation come to mind when I was doing it. Motivating again, bit of a madman. But yeah, great Arsenal defender, and obviously played for Everton during the 90s as well. I think George Graham sold in there. Was it George Graham? I think it was George Graham sold into Everton. Went off, made his name, come back to us a few years later, and was part of the early Arsene, the earlier Arsene Wenger years, and into the early 2000s where we were very successful. I think it was around the Invincibles time as well, wasn't he? So yeah, he slots in at Everton. So for Fulham, we've gone for Danny Murphy. Now, some of these were actually in the game, but not necessarily as staff. They were just as like retired players and stuff. So some of the stats were actually kept across, so I didn't tinker with those too much. So he comes across as a perfectionist. I don't know about that so much. 19.5 grand, probably the lowest so far. Fulham, they are expected to finish just outside the relegation places according to the preview. If you look at real life in the season at the moment, probably going to finish, if not bottom, just above. But they've just got Ranieri, so who knows what's going to happen there. Man management 10, motivating 12. Yeah, I didn't really tinker with him too much, so he's just good to go, really. And we come to Huddersfield, and we go for Kevin Kilban, Zinedine Kilban. Another great one play, 110 caps. I don't know if someone's tinkered with his Wikipedia page, because I don't know if that's true. Did he make 110 caps for Ireland pre-1922? Not sure what that's done in the edit, where that's come from. I think he was on the game. I didn't tinker with him too much. So this is a lot of it was on the game already. He's not got a very good reputation in terms of management. 44.5, not bad for Huddersfield. So we'll see what he can do there. Leicester has to be Alan Smith, Smudger. Was fortunate enough to meet him a couple of months ago. He did a book signing up in Liverpool Street at Waterstones, Leadenhall Market, and I managed to just sneak out of the office for an hour or two, queue up and get a copy of his book, get it signed, meet him, have a chat. Another Arsenal legend, that Palmer goal, that's all you need to say. Obviously he was at Leicester before that. He the main man pretty much now at Sky, one of the main commentators, does a lot of the big games, so he sneaks in quite easily. 17 attacking. Again, I think he might have been on the game already, and I just had to sort of tinker with a few bits, but not too much. So he looks like he could have some not amazing attributes, but he should have enough there to sort of do a good season at Leicester. Now Liverpool, there's only one person I could go with. He was on the game, so again didn't have to tinker too much, and he's got a 10s not to, because obviously that was already ground into the game, so not to work in the lower leagues. So he's going to have a good season at Liverpool if he wants to avoid that. But there's only one man it could have been. I think he's back on Sky now. He obviously was removed for a little bit after that motorway incident, I think, last year. I think he's back now. I don't have Sky Sports anymore, so I don't really catch too much of it. But he's on 97 grand, but tough shoes to finish. He's expected to finish second in the preview, following Jurgen Klopp. And yeah, I mean, defending 18, that's obvious. Again, I didn't tinker too much with these, but he's got the good DDMs, which is, I mean, the man management maybe. Was it motivating? I can't remember. One of these M's I use in my searches, but he's got pretty good. I mean, he wouldn't be bad as a coach or assistant manager, certainly. I'd maybe want a bit more tactical and technical, maybe in there. Maybe not so much tactical knowledge, and yeah. But he's not too bad. He's got his work cut out for, but he could be one of the favourites maybe in terms of stats and the club and the players he's got. But we'll see. We don't know if it's going to be players or managers that's going to base this. Over at Manchester City, we went with Stephen McManaman. Again, he was on the game, so I haven't touched his profile at all. Fairly well rounded actually. Some of his man management is a bit lower, so certainly not going to be the Pep Guardiola school of management here. It doesn't look like, but it's fairly well rounded bits. He's got the players there to succeed. He's come from being a Liverpool under-18s coach, so hence he's in the game. So all I had to do was change him to be a manager, but he can be a coach as well. I mean, if you go by what the manager's recommended attributes are, he's not very good. But I do take a look at some of these other ones as well when I'm looking at, opposition managers. I look at the overall picture. So we'll be interested to see what he can do with Manchester City. Now, Manchester United countering Jamie Carragher. I mean, this one is potentially a little bit of a cheat. A lot of the Man United ones I had have all done management. Now, obviously, Gary Neville has. He wasn't very successful. He's been England's assistant manager. He was manager of Valencia for a very short amount of time. So he was on the game already with certain attributes. I think assistant manager and coach, as you can see here, bumped him up to being a manager. He's got decent attributes here. He's got a good squad to work with. So he could be a front runner here. Not to work in the lower leagues. So we've got that model professional. 99 grand a week. But yeah, a lot of the Man United ones I had written down. I'm not going to show that list because it's a little bit messy. And there's a few on there I'm not too sure about. But it was like Roy Keane has been a manager. Gary Neville been a manager at some point. There's a few, possibly others, but we stuck with Gary Neville because I thought it'd just be a bit interesting to stick him in there. He's the main man on Sky. He is the main man on Sky now, so you couldn't leave him out really. Over at Newcastle, we go with Alan Shearer. Again, a bit similar. Has managed Newcastle. Wasn't very successful. I mean, I think he did all right from what I remember his record, but it was just too little, too late, and he ended up actually getting them relegated. Again, one of the main men you see on BBC now on Match of the Day. Opposite Gary Lineker, who we'll get to later. I mean, you know it already, you've seen the list. But again, I think he was on the game, so not too much to mess around with. Great England career. Attacking 20, yes, of course, man. He's got the good attributes here. Some well-rounded stuff. The tactical knowledge is maybe a little bit on the lower side. But again, depends on the players. But if he can get them working, we could see Newcastle more towards the upper ends of it. I mean, I haven't looked at the second part of it yet to see how the league finished or anything happened. It's literally going in blind, so I've no preconceptions about what's happened. I'm merely speculating, and I could be proven to be completely wrong, and I probably will be. So Southampton is, of course, Matt Le Tissier. I've done him, I think, on one of the experiments I've released already. This should be coming out on the Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Friday. I've already uploaded ready Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I'm pretty sure he was chosen in one of those as well as Southampton manager. So not completely fresh, but he's not a manager in real life, so he's the obvious one. He's on Soccer Saturday regularly, always picking up Southampton, of course, devoted to them, and he is at that club. I think it should be in there as well that he's so pleased to be in charge of one of his favourite clubs. That's what I was trying to get at. So that's where we're at. He is seen as probably one of the more likely ones to not get sacked. He's got that loyalty, he's got that affiliation to the club. I did try and sneak some of those in as well, like favoured clubs, that sort of stuff, just to try and add in the loyalty aspect a bit more. Tottenham, we mentioned him earlier, Gary Lineker, again in the game, and his stats are absolutely incredible. Probably more as a coach. I mean, the management ones, they're pretty good for what it says you need. He's got, if you look at him as a coach, he's got everything you'd look for, and he'd be a standout coach. Fitness perhaps, but if he's not your fitness coach, who cares? He could do your attacking coaching, he could do your mental side, your tactical side, your technical side. Obviously, train's had a bit of an overhaul now, so I could be talking absolute nonsense. I haven't really gone completely nitty-gritty into that. I will be doing that on my main save, which this is kind of giving me time, hopefully, to prepare for this cold, and that has set me back a little bit, because I had to push recording back while I just try and feel a little bit more myself. But we're there today. I'm not really feeling it myself, but it has to be done. I have to get them out. I've got 3 ready. I have to get the 4th and 5th out and ready to go. Ready to edit on Monday to upload probably on Tuesday. So yeah, Watford was the other kind of dummy one. We didn't have a Watford player, so we just stuck Jermaine Genius in there. He not too bad. Again, I think he was. A lot of these were actually in the database. They were just retired players or retired staff, or just floating around, not really doing much. So I can't remember who was who. Some of them I've had to edit, some I had to change, some of them I had to create from scratch. But yeah, he looks okay. I think Watford are expecting a mid-table finish. He looks like he could be capable of delivering that, but I'm not too sure. These two here are possibly a little bit on the low side, but we'll see. Seen a lot of 4-4-2s being preferred. A lot of these from the old school played 4-4-2 in the Premier League. And the penultimate team to look at is, of course, West Ham. We've gone, of course, for Rio Ferdinand. Not got the best stats. Obviously, he was created. I know the ones that definitely created because they have these 10s too. I didn't touch them. So anyone that's got that is definitely in the database already. So it doesn't rate his management attributes too great. Yeah, West Ham could be in for a tricky season looking at that, but who knows? He's got the loyalty there, so the players hope in theory that should track down to that as well and look up to him and maybe get a little bit of a boost in some of these stats. I assume that's how it possibly works. So we'll see how West Ham do. And the final one is Wolves. We've gone for Matt Murray. Again, he's in the game. If they've got pictures as well, they're definitely in the game already, because I haven't added any pictures in. I didn't really have time to do that or a chance to do that at work. He's primarily a goalkeeping coach. I think he's at Barnsley as a goalkeeping coach, so we just bumped him up to a manager. Not amazing in any shape or form. Only on 19 grand a year, but again, he's got that content with life at a club he loves, so he's got that in there. He's at a club he loves and a club that loves him. So I think he had to retire quite early. I think it was an injury or something, because really 37 years old, a goalkeeper could still be functioning and playing. So yeah, one to look out for there. Wolves could be in for a sticky season. So yeah, we've gone through all the clubs now, as you just seen. What we're going to do, we're going to fast forward 1 year. I think we've gone to the 1st of June, and we'll see how the division got on and who finished where. This is the time now. Hedge your bets. Put your bets down below. Who do you think's going to win the league? Who do you think's going to get relegated? Who do you think's going to last? Anything you fancy, anything that piques your interest, pop it in the comments below and just see how you get on. Don't cheat. Don't go to the end and see what happens and add the comments in. Little fun game. Just see how it goes. See what the engine thinks.
6.5 hours later.
So here we are, 1 year on, and as you can see, insecure jobs. We've got Robbie Savage at Brighton, so he hasn't been sacked. Danny Murphy at Fulham. So these haven't been sacked yet. Their jobs are on on the balance, and it's quite a lot of them, to be fair. So we've got Alan Smith at Leicester, Danny Murphy at Fulham, Shearer at Newcastle, Gary Lineker at Tottenham, Matt Murray at Wolves, and then 2 championship team and a national team. We've seen Villa have got promoted. It'd be interesting to see if actually those clubs that get promoted might actually be able to shout of actually having a good tilt at the title next year, because they've got an established, well-grounded manager who's just had a year of success. So interesting to see. So if you do want to see me go on to another year in this save, let me know. We can always see, you know, how Aston Villa, whoever else gets on. We'll have a look who come up, who went down. We'll look now, but we'll just go through the news. Has anything jumped out? I mean, so far, Ian Wright got to 13th of May, so he got to the end of the season pretty much, and was sacked by Crystal Palace. They were relegated after losing the last 3 games of the season, so we know Palace are down. They're interested in Sean Dyche, Allardyce and Patrick Vieira. I don't think Patrick Vieira is going to go to the Championship. Dyche might, and Allardyce maybe, but they've gone for Eddie Howe, obviously released from Bournemouth, so that's a good signing for Palace. He'll get them straight back up. So again, if you do want to see the next season, let me know. So English Premier Division. Man United still won the title under Gary Neville. Man City finished 2nd. Chelsea 3rd. Liverpool 4th. So the top 4, although not in the same order, are pretty much there or thereabouts. Tottenham finished behind on goal difference in 5th, but get a Europa League place along with Everton in 6th and Arsenal in 7th. Bournemouth then miles behind the next pack. So the top 7, they are just the top 7 now. We get sort of South Coast, Bournemouth, Southampton there with West Ham. So we said they might struggle, but they did okay under Rio. Leicester, Alan Smith's in trouble, but I mean it's a good mid-season finish really. He didn't win more than he lost, but 44 points. I mean that's not a bad return. Wolves as well under Matt Murray weren't expected to do too well, looking at his stats, but his job's on the line as well. Cardiff got up to 13th when they were expected to finish 20th under Michael Owen, of course. Newcastle Shearer's in trouble, 40 points, hit the magic 40 really. Burnley, Watford and Huddersfield, but the table is propped up by Palace, Fulham and Brighton. I mean Brighton were some way back, but not completely out of it. Fulham and Crystal Palace, I mean they were only a point behind. It was their last 3 games they lost. If they'd have got a win in there, they'd have snuck up and stayed up at the expense of Huddersfield, possibly even Watford in the mix. It's Marcus Rashford top scorer, Callum Wilson, assists was Alex Sanchez, David Silva, so nothing too out of the ordinary really. No, not particularly. So that's the league table. We'll go and have a look at the Championship. So Villa beat Norwich in the playoffs. Look at the league table. So Borough come up as champions and Stoke, the 2 getting relegated, come straight back up. Who's the other team relegated? West Brom. No, Middlesbrough weren't, were they? It was Stoke, Swansea and West Brom. So they don't. 2 of them don't bounce up, 1 of them do. Leeds sacked Bielsa early on and still managed to finish 4th. So that's a strange one. Wigan, Ipswich and Reading going down, possibly not too far off the equation. I think Bolton and Preston might be in the mix. Well, maybe not Preston. I'm sure Bolton are in the mix currently in the real Championship season. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's go to the FA Cup. Let's see if one of the regulars. I mean, look at Liverpool won it. So they beat Man United in the final in extra time. So if we go to stages, have a look at the results in that. So Salah, Firmino and Sturridge, along with Alexis Sanchez goal. Pretty close game to be fair. 3-1, probably not doing it justice on a stats basis, of course. Not in, but the top scorer in the league, Rashford on the bench, comes on, doesn't do anything. So who did any sort of teams make it to sort of any surprising rounds? Liverpool, Watford, Tottenham, Man United, not particularly. West Brom, Millwall got there, Preston. Yeah, and then after that, yeah, it's not really worth looking up. So we'll go to the Carabao Cup. I'm pretty sure I've got the names on there. I have it. Liverpool have done a cup double. They beat Chelsea 3-1 again in the final, not in extra time this time. But Will Grigg gets the top goal scorer along with Oliver Giroud. We'll go to stages. We won't look at the scores and stuff for that one really. Arsenal lost to Liverpool in the semi-final. Chelsea beat Fulham. So Premier League teams all round in the semi-final there. We'll go to, I'm pretty sure I've got Champions League listed as well correctly. So Champions Cup, it hasn't renamed. So that's actually not happened yet. That happens today. Man City versus Man United. We're not going to forward on too much. I mean, that's crazy that 2 unexperienced managers have got to the final of the Champions League, and it's a Manchester final as well, which is absolutely crazy. So if we go to stages, let's see how sort of the other rounds looked. Barcelona and PSG knocked out by the Manchester clubs. Quarterfinals, Man City beat Bayern, Man United beat Atletico Madrid, PSG beat Real Madrid and Barcelona beat Borussia Dortmund. So interesting there. So we'll go with European, it's the Euro Cup. So if we go to final, has been played, Milan beat Porto. So far, not real any English success here. Arsenal did make it to the semi-final, losing to Milan on aggregate. Porto beating Sevilla. Did any other English team get any further? Chelsea got to the quarters. That's about it, really. Any English teams knocked out here? I mean, Celtic, not really English, but representing Britain, I guess. And no, first knockout round. No, must have got out of the groups or not qualified. I think it's Burnley, isn't it? Let's see, are they in the groups? Burnley actually topped their group. So why were they not in the next knockout round? I must have just missed them. They topped their group with Bayer Leverkusen, Sporting, and this Turkish team. I don't know who they are. Dodgy Gamer, if you're watching, enlighten me. Yeah, so that's. We'll have a look at some of the transfers. Actually, some of them did, because that might be a little bit of a interesting spin. We'll go to Premier League. So Man United signed Dybala. They seem to always sign him on this game, just a regular. Gaspar from Villarreal, and Danilo Pereira from Porto, and Rafinha from Barcelona, who obviously I signed at Arsenal as well. He did alright when he was fit. 212 million spent. Not much going out. Rojo to China for 15 and a bit. Few loans. Fred out on loan. Bizarrely, Fellaini out on loan. Man City, they signed Rodrigo from Valencia for 35 million, rising quite dramatically. Prato from River Plate. Kieran Tierney always leaves to go somewhere. From Celtic. Rui Daz from Seattle. Desilio from Juventus. Wow, that's a big fee. And Ron Robert Zieler, 18 million. Isn't he quite an old backup goalkeeper? That's a strange one. He didn't really play. 18 million for a strange backup goalkeeper. In terms of the outs, Bravo went to Fiorentina very cheap. Danilo to China. Sané on loan to Milan, that's a strange one. Moreno to Burnley on loan. Sterling to Barcelona for 70 million eventually. Wow, okay. 69 million recouped, but still 188 spent. Chelsea, I'm probably just going to look at the top 7 here. That's where we're going to see most of the sort of crazy transfers, I guess. But Chelsea signed Emerson, always sign him on this. I've seen it in a few of the experiments, they always sign him. Is it a transfer that's really happened? Do they have him? Is that why I'm seeing it a lot? I haven't seen him play in the Premier League, so I'm not sure. He's behind Jorginho, and it must have happened. It must be a transfer that's happened, yeah. I didn't know that, yeah, because it's behind them all. So Ruben Diaz from Benfica for 54 million. I think I've seen that once or twice. We've got Irving Lozano from PSV, quite cheap considering the season he had last year in the World Cup he had. And then Castells from Wolfsburg for 22 million eventually. They sold Piazon to Sheffield United. They sold Moses to Lyon for 10.5. We've got Caballero to Boca Juniors, goes back to Argentina. Van Ginkel gets quite a large fee. David Luiz to Domikiev, quite a low fee. And Zappacosta to China, again quite low fees. So a bit of wheeling and dealing there for Chelsea. Liverpool didn't bring anyone else in. He was content with the spending they had and the players they had, but he loaned out Wijnaldum, sold Markovic, loaned out Shaqiri, strangely. Solanke went out on loan like he always does. And that's about it. So really not much in the way of transfer business for Liverpool at all. Strange one, Shaqiri, I guess, considering they just bought him in this season. He's not showing on this side, bizarrely. Tottenham, they signed, obviously didn't sign anyone in real life, signed Frankie de Jong from Ajax. They got Casilla, the goalkeeper from Real Madrid. Don't really need him, but then the backups are quite poor at Tottenham, so maybe they do. Farinez from Millonarios in Colombia for 1.1. And Eduardo Vargas, he's the older player, isn't he? Yeah, the old Chilean player. I think he played in the Premier League before, wasn't he? No, I had his Hoffenheim card on FIFA a couple of years ago. It's pretty sick. 39.5 in. They get 8 back. Sissoko on loan. Nkudu on loan. Vorm sold, hence the goalkeeper. Janssen sold. Llorente sold, very low fee. And a few loans, yeah, not much to shout about really. Bit like Tottenham in real life this summer. I mean, they spent 40. I mean, I guess Frankie de Jong's quite an exciting one. Everton jumped up to 6th, and who were they managed by? I can't remember off the top of my head. Martin Keown. So good season for Martin Keown. So obviously Bernard from Shakhtar we know about. I had him last year. Last year's at FM19, he wasn't very good for me. I sold him pretty early. These are all. He didn't sign anyone. 85 obviously was bought, but he didn't sign any of them. Who did they sell? So Jagielka went to. I think that's an existing one. I think he's actually gone, hasn't he? Has he gone? I think so. James McCarthy loaned to Bayer Leverkusen. Seen a few of his interesting loans. He went to Shakhtar, one of them, which was quite a good signing. Would never have been able to get him myself in the first season, but just a lot of young players out on loan. So not much to shout about for Everton really. So he did it with the squad he had. Great season. See what tactics he was playing. 4-4-2, 4-4-2. Can't go wrong with the old boys. The final one we're going to look at is Arsenal. So they signed Pavon for Boca Juniors. I did try and sign him myself. I think he went to Man United in the end. Julian Brandt from Bayer Leverkusen. Wow, a lot of money spent by Arsenal. Jose Gaia. If I do carry on the Arsenal save, which I'm still waiting to see on the comments to see what happens, a left back is what I'm looking at, so he could be one we look at. Luis Muriel, I've mentioned it many times. I loved his FIFA card for a good few years. Not playing FIFA this year, so not so much now. Guido Pizarro, don't know too much about him. Did he play in Italy? Sevilla? No, I don't know him. And then on the outs, a few loans. Nicotia, Willock. Peter Cech goes to Fiorentina for 4.5. It's not a bad bit of money for him. He's on a lot of money at the start. He's on like 110k a week or something, so he's not bad. Mavropanos goes out on loan. Obviously, we saw Wigan get relegated, but that was in the January, so probably damage done. Lichtsteiner goes to West Ham. Smith Rowe goes to Bolton on loan. We obviously loaned him to Preston. Mustafi goes to Bayern. We sold him to Bayern. Holding went out on loan to Southampton. He was one of our main centre backs. That's a bit shocking. Maitland-Niles was quality for us in our first season as well. Very versatile. So to see him go on loan to Lyon is a bit shocking. And that's about a few loans. Didn't really see many of these other young players really. So that's kind of what sums up the transfers. If you do want to drop in the comments, if you do want to see a second video another year on, if there's also some, if I do that and I get that's the feedback again, I am doing it, so just keep an eye on the comments, keep an eye on Twitter. But there is some other teams you want to see what they've done transfer wise or anything else within this game. I'm keeping the save file, so just let me know. So I think we'll wrap that video up here. If you enjoyed this episode, please do drop a like down below while you're there. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. And any comments as well, like I mentioned, about carrying this on or anything you want to see. If I do that second video, let me know as well. And until next time, well, I've got another experiment video tomorrow, which we'll see out this week. I've got a few more lined up, which I'm going to intertwine with my main series, starting very soon, hopefully. They're all pretty much ready to go. One I did have a bit of an error with the simulation of the database. I've got to do a good few, about 10-15 years again. So yeah, that's annoying. And the one that's out tomorrow took absolutely ages to get to. It's probably a fairly short video. So I'm going to leave that there. Until next time, I'll see you later. Take care.